over basically what the product is, what it does and such, and I'll show you a pre-recorded brief demo of the product so we can dive into the functional detail. Sandra's going to go over how you get the product, how we work with our partners to provide the product to the market, how our customers can get information on the product, how our partners can represent the product, the materials we have to best represent the product to the market, and so on. So that's our goal for today. We're going to try to do this in maybe a little over a half hour, so I know you guys have graciously given us an hour of your time. That's great. We can certainly go that long if there are lots of questions, but we think we can actually do this in about 30 or 35 minutes, so hopefully you'll get some time back in your day. If you have any questions at any point during the presentation, please type them into the chat window down in the sort of bottom of the GoToWebinar user interface there, and we will handle all the questions at the end of the discussion. Okay, so we'll deal with those, and I'm sure we'll easily be able to fit in any questions that you have. Okay, so with that, we'll dive in. So again, we're really excited about this. This is a new product. It is based on the console product that we had running on Communications Center, the ZCOM product, which was the product that requires an Enghouse server or servers to run that product, uses the queuing and routing of the contact center solution, but also offers an attendant console. We've now taken that product and made it serverless. So in this version of the product, it no longer requires any installation of any servers from Enghouse anywhere. So the advantage to that is hopefully pretty clear, right? You can just install the product on the desktop and it just starts running, and it connects to your copy of Skype for Business that the business is running. So the value proposition for this is the value of an attendant console or operator console. It's for that person who is at the front line of the business, that person who is the first person that your customers talk to or your partners talk to when they call into your business. So the key here is, how can we equip that person with the tools they need to deliver a highly personalized and very efficient and productive experience to that caller? And that's what an operator console is all about. So, how do we give them the tools? Now, with Skype for Business, we have access to a lot of functionality. We have access to the ability to control calls, transfer calls, do three-party conferences where we're warm transferring the call to someone, park calls, we have presence information. The key is we can access all that information through an API that we use that interfaces directly with the client on the desktop, the Skype client. And therefore, we require no API connection to the server or any server installation of our own. So that provides a very lightweight experience. So all you basically have to do is install the application. It connects automatically to the Skype client, and it's up and running immediately. There's no real configuration or setup required. It's really, really easy. And again, for that operator, they've got a very visual and productive experience to process calls. You could ask the question, why isn't the Skype client good enough? And the primary answer to that is, it's not really built for operators. It's not really built for attendants. It's not built to have one-click access to lots of functions that they have to use over and over and over again as they do call management for the business and direct the calls to the right destination. It's not built for that. A console is built to be extremely efficient and extremely productive. One example of that is keyboard. Often operators just want to use hotkeys or keystrokes to do all the functionality they need to take and move calls. And a Skype client can't really do that. There's a lot of mouse movement, a lot of inefficiency, a lot of clicks in order for the operator to do their job. So this client is built to really, really be efficient. And it's also built to provide functionality that allows the operator, basically easy access to when people are available in the business and how to get the call to them in the right way. We'll see that when we get into the demo. Okay. Little brief background on where the client application came from. So we've been in partnership with Microsoft for quite a long time. We've been working with Skype for Business, previously Lync, previously OCS, for probably about 8 years. In the last couple of years, we've been working on heavily with Skype for Business engineers at Microsoft to try to build something that really, really fits the model that Microsoft is trying to go to market with their PBX, with Skype for Business. So as a really, really close partner of Microsoft, we actually have access to the engineering team and the product management team at Microsoft. We've been working really closely with them. What that means is that we have early access to software before it's released. We have early access to APIs. We're able to share roadmaps back and forth. We're able to certify right when the certification programs are available, and so on. And so we built a product that is certified with Skype for Business 2013 and 2015, and is endorsed by Microsoft. And Enghouse is what Microsoft calls a high-touch partner, a very close partner who works hand-in-hand with Microsoft every step of the way. Interestingly, Microsoft doesn't have an attendant console for Skype for Business. Microsoft themselves doesn't provide one. So they rely on their partners to provide this much-needed functionality. That is also true of Contact Center, and so we'll talk a little bit later on about our progress with Microsoft on both fronts. But this fits a key need in the market for a key product that kind of works alongside the PBX. As we said earlier, there's no server required, and it works with whatever implementation of Skype for Business you would like it to work with. On-premise, working with, say, the response groups in an on-premise Skype for Business implementation. Hosted, if one of our partners wants to host Skype for Business and wants to deliver this attendant console alongside that, it can work with that configuration. Or, and this is new, the pure cloud PBX, meaning you can buy Skype for Business online, the E5 Cal from Microsoft, and it for Office 365, and this product through the Skype for Business client on the desktop will connect directly to the cloud PBX and provide this functionality. So it uses Skype for Business for all the control of calls, looking up of people, accessing their presence information, and so on. And it all works and connects automatically and works with whatever configuration of Skype for Business is set up for that particular customer. So hopefully that's clear. Again, if you have questions as we go, please type them into the chat window. So what does the attendant look like? A couple of screenshots here just to go over some of the functionality, and then we'll dive into the demo and kind of go into what it does and what it looks like and how it works. But you can kind of see what the desktop experience is like for the attendant. It's kind of a wide open, kind of classic design interface. Very easy to look at and see what's going on. You can see there's quite a bit of white space on the screen. We wanted to do that because we wanted to provide something that wasn't heavily complex. And if you think about the role of an operator or a receptionist or an attendant, they kind of have to be able to come into their job and quickly come up to speed, learn a product quickly and start using it and be efficient. And the idea of this product is there's not a lot of training required. It's very, very easy to just start taking calls using the application and then see the functions that are available for those calls. That's another key element of the design of this application. It's what we call context aware. So it's aware of what's going on at any given time with the operator, and it exposes the functions they need at that particular point in time. An example would be you can't transfer a call if you're not on a call. So the function for transfer doesn't even pop up or isn't even available when you hover until you're actually on a live call. Things like that. So it tries to not make the desktop overly busy or overly complicated with a lot of functions that you don't need. It also has a look and feel that looks and feels a lot like Skype for Business. So since people are kind of used to that look and feel, they're used to the way presence information is represented, using the colors. They're used to the way contact names appear and so on. This will allow you to do that. It uses the pictures that are available through Skype for Business. It uses the directory information available through Skype for Business, and so on and so on. So it's very much aligned with the Skype for Business configuration and environment. You see there in the middle of the screen are some statistics. We'll talk about that more when we dive into the demo here in just a second. Here's another screenshot just showing some of the call control functions that are available in the center of the screen. The screen is basically, if you think about it, it's kind of divided into three sections: the left-hand side, the center section, and the right-hand side. The left-hand side represents calls coming in. The center section represents call control and presence and contact information and lookups. And the right-hand side represents calls going out, away from the attendant to their destination. So there's some key elements here, like the ability to see which active call is in progress right now that I'm working on. What we're seeing there is caller ID information. If we had that contact in the phone book, that would show the person's name. You can see on the left-hand side when calls come into the center, to the operator, they are actually stacking up there on the left, and they're changing color dynamically to show their age. We'll talk about that more as we get into the demo. In the center section, we've got all this call control functionality. We've got the ability to put the call in a different place. We've got the ability to park it, to transfer it, to do things with the destination person, and so on. And then, of course, we've got this directory access, again, through Skype for Business, to the directories that you care about. Those might be departments in the business. In a hospital, maybe I have the pathology department, or a different department used for different functions. In a financial services organization, maybe I have the loan officers in a group. I can set up whatever groups I like, and then I can access who's available in that group in order to move the call to that destination. You see there it says recent transfers. When we get into the demo, we'll get into what that means as well. But that's a nice productivity tool for the attendant. So with that, I'm actually going to move a video here onto the screen and blow that up so we can take a look at the application in action. Okay, so I'm going to start the video, but before we get started here, I just want you to see again all the white space available on this screen. We're just about to answer our first call, and until we do, the screen is not overly busied with a bunch of information. Okay? But as we answer this call, you can see things happen. I now have the ability to answer. I can see additional calls stacking up. So the operator or attendant is made aware how busy we are today because they can see other calls coming into queue and stacking up, requiring attention. That gives the attendant kind of a picture of how much time can I really spend on this particular call? Do I need to finish it up quickly in order to move on to other calls that are stacking up, or can I take my time and give the caller a more personalized experience? They can make that call based on the information provided on the screen. And then of course, as the call is taken or answered, then we see information about that caller. If the caller's in the phone book, we see their name, and now we see all the call control functions, and we see the destinations I might transfer that call off to. By the way, let's back that up just a second, just to see this little category, recent transfers, on the screen. This particular caller, based on that caller ID, usually goes to one of these three people. That's true of a lot of kinds of businesses. Imagine, again, in a hospital where, say, a caller calls in and often talks to their doctor, or often talks to a particular clinic or department within the healthcare facility. Since it's oftentimes the same destination over and over again, it's highly efficient to show the places that particular caller has gone in the past. So that's a one-click access to a person that we can send this call off to. Now, how do we send the call off? Notice we've got a couple of functions here. One, we can transfer, or we can park. The difference between transfer and park is transfer is typically to a specific destination, a phone somewhere in the business. Park is specifically to a place in the business where you can pick it up from a location. You can pick it up based on any location you're at. So again, if we look at that hospital example, let's say you want to park this call for a doctor. The doctor might be moving around the hospital facility and might need to take the call from a different location. With Park, they can do that. It just gets parked on a particular park location, and then the doctor can dial a number from a phone anywhere in the hospital and pick up that call. So it gives you that capability to have the moving destination anywhere else in the business. In this particular case, we're going to park that call, and look what happens. Right away, the call moves to the right side of the screen and starts to visibly move down the screen. So we've got a kind of dynamic little workspace here where things are changing color and moving as they're handled by the operator. And it moves down until it's picked up by that destination. Meanwhile, I've got more calls stacking up here on the left-hand side, and look what's happening. Calls are starting to change color. The reason for that, we call it toasting. They gradually move from green to yellow to orange to red to indicate age. And that's an indication of priority for the attendant or operator. They have to work on those things, right? They're being judged on how quickly they're answering these calls. So they better be able to pick them up as they toast. And that's an indication that caller's been on hold too long. I need to pay attention to that particular call. And once I do, I again have access to that area in the middle. Notice the animation. I stopped it here, but we were looking at those calls navigating the screen. And again, even the ones that are transferred off or parked are also changing color. Notice that one at the bottom is changing color, and in this case, it's now this sort of yellowish red color and is indicating that it's aging, meaning Katie, the destination, has not yet picked up that parked call. As soon as they get picked up, they disappear from the operator's view because the operator no longer has to worry about them. But until they're picked up, the operator needs to worry about whether they are getting picked up. And if they don't, then notice what the operator can do. They can bring it back and make it live again, and then transfer it to a different person, in this case Dot, transfer it off to Dot, and now it's in Dot's view. It's in Dot's world. And again, it disappears from the operator's screen when Dot picks up that call. So it's not just about handling the calls coming in, it's also about paying attention to the calls going out. So I can tell if they're parked or transferred that someone has actually received them properly. If not, I can pull them back and deal with them again. So it's a continuous environment, and with that animation and that use of color, we're providing almost a gamified experience for the attendant. You know, if you think about the attendant or receptionist day, it can be a fairly mundane experience to just take call after call after call and try to move them off to the right person. But if we can make it colorful and dynamic and animated, we can provide an experience that is more engaging for that receptionist, for that attendant to work on. And that will hold their attention on the screen, and it will keep them moving in this gamified way. Another gamification little piece that we've added here is the call counts. I can see how many calls have come in for each queue type. I can see how many calls I've handled, you know, how many calls I've transferred successfully, how many calls, outbound calls I've made. Maybe as an operator, I also, part of my job is placing outbound calls for the business. I can see that as well. So I've got some statistics, and I can measure those statistics against my goals. Over time, we're going to add more statistics to this view, things like handle time and such, so that we can also set goals on those metrics as well. But for now, we wanted to put some basic call counts in so that people could kind of see how they're doing. So that's really the application. It kind of provides this real approach, and again, with the ability to control directory lookups by department, directory lookups that include the recent places that a caller has been moved to. It's very, very productive and all accessible either from the mouse or the keyboard. So it's a very dynamic and fast experience. One other quick thing. When I put a call on hold, it appears down here at the bottom of the screen as a held blue call. But I can do a lot in terms of call control with these calls. We talked about park. But even transfer has a couple of different options. If I look here, I have the ability to cold transfer a call directly to someone, and that just goes to them without the need to be on the call any longer. And we see it moving off the right-hand side when it's transferred. But I can also warm transfer or supervised transfer a call, meaning I can provide a more personal handoff of the caller to that destination. Or let's say I want to make the person that I'm transferring the call off to a little more aware of what the call is about. I can send them an instant message directly from this application. It goes through Microsoft Skype for Business, and it appears at their destination like a Skype for Business IM. I can send them an email with some information. Let's say someone called in, the destination person wasn't available, but I want to quickly compose an email to that person talking about why the person called and what they're looking for and asking, say, for a callback. I can send them an email directly from this application. And of course, park and transfer to mailbox, which is another key productive tool for operators, where instead of transferring the call directly to the person and having them wait through the person's greeting, I can see the person via presence is not available, maybe they're on another call, and I can just transfer directly to their mailbox. Again, it's a productivity gain for both the receptionist and the customer. So there's a lot of tools here and a lot of power that provides that very visual and very efficient experience for a receptionist, the front line of your business. So hopefully that's all pretty clear. You can see we've spent quite a bit of time on the design of this thing, quite a bit of time getting it right. We've talked to and watched the workloads of various attendants and receptionists around the world to see how they work, to see what would make them productive, and we designed the application to meet their needs. So hopefully that's pretty clear. With that, I will transfer control here back to the slides, and Sandra can walk us through how you actually obtain the application.
Thanks, John. So after that demonstration, I'm sure everyone's asking themselves, how do I get my hands on TouchPoint Attendant? My customers are going to love this. And to be clear, too, the only people on this call are partners. And I do encourage each of you to go ahead and download the software yourself so you can see what the experience your customers will go through and how simple and easy it is. And actually, one thing, John touched on this, but the groups, just to be clear, you don't have to set up new groups within TouchPoint Attendant. It pulls from the groups that you already have in Skype for Business. So, okay, so super simple to get the product. You're going to get it directly from the InChouse Interactive website. We're showing the direct link here, as well as a screenshot with a call out showing where to click, which is a button labeled Download a Free Trial. And don't worry about scrambling to write this down right now. We will be sending that out after the call, so you'll have access to this. And let's see. Go ahead. Next slide, please, John. Okay. So once you've clicked on the Download a Free Trial button, you'll be asked to fill out a short form with your contact information. So there's two tabs, one for customers and one for partners. And if a customer fills out the form, and we're encouraging them to do so, so feel free to send them here, we will be contacting them for their partner information. And one note here too, if you select you're ready to purchase the product, then as part of the procurement process, an automated email will be sent out to you asking for the PO. So please, call us if you have any questions on that. We try to keep it super simple. But soon we'll have the ability for you to request a quote, place an order, submit a PO, receive an invoice, and pay for TouchPoint Attendant all directly from the partner portal. So a lot of partners have been asking for that level of automation, and we're really excited to be able to offer it shortly. So stay tuned on that. Next slide. Once you submit the form, you'll reach this thank you page shown here, and that's when you'll actually be downloading the software. So on this page, there's a help section. We've got some FAQs here, a link to the demo video, installation document, and also a quick reference guide. Next slide. So if the product has never been licensed, your customer is going to be offered a 30-day free trial period. And the free trial is going to give access to full functionality of the software for those 30 days. And there'll be a banner on the top bar of TouchPoint Attendant, shown here, with letting you know how long the trial period is left. You've also got a daily pop-up reminder, and there's a 10-day grace period built in too. So technically we've got 40 days here. And however, if the product exhausts the trial and the grace periods, the customer will be invited to provide a valid product key. So at that point, we'll be asking you to purchase it, or it won't function any longer. So the only option then will be to exit. Next slide. Licenses are subscription only. They're purchased in advance per 12 months. List price is just $60 a month. And we do have a bulk buy option. So if you're purchasing 10 or more licenses per customer, you'll get an additional 10% off. Again, the $60 is the list price. Off of that, you'll get your regular partner discount. Let's see here. I think this is about where I'm going to turn it back over to you now, John, and he's going to do a quick recap and a brief plug on InChouse and our Microsoft relationship before we wrap up and take any questions. John?
Thanks, Sandra. So again, if anybody has any questions either about the product or about what to do next or how to get the product or how to work together with us as a partner to take this to market, please enter it either on the chat window or we'll provide you an email address and a couple of slides that you can send your questions to as well. Just to recap, again, as we said earlier, wanted to emphasize we have developed this alongside Microsoft. We haven't done it in a vacuum. We've done it with their engineers, with their product managers to try to make it fit the look and feel of Skype, to try to make sure that it works with every possible configuration of Skype, and to build it so it really aligns with Microsoft's go-to-market strategy for Skype. So it's really intended to be very closely aligned, and the future of this is very closely aligned with Microsoft as well. Even now we're talking to their engineers and product managers about the roadmap and where we go next. We talked about the fact that it works with any implementation of Skype. You as partners might be hosting Skype for Business for your customers. It will work with that, of course. It will work with premise-based Skype, of course, but it will also work with Skype Cloud or Skype for Business Online, Office 365, E5Cal. It will work with that as well. So it just does that by connecting through the client to whatever instance of Skype you're using. And, we talked about how to get it from the website. We talked about the trial and so on. The trial, I think, is a really good thing, right? It's absolutely painless. Since this thing requires no real configuration, you go on, you download the trial, you start it, and you're literally up and running within seconds. So it is extremely easy to try the product out. And of course, our hope is that people will try it out with their actual users, and the users will like it and want to keep it. So that's the goal of this. Just briefly about InChouse. You guys as partners are undoubtedly aware, but just to emphasize, we are, as a close partner of Microsoft, we have more implementations of our communication software, contact center and console, than anyone else in the industry. We've cracked the number 450 now. We have 450 customers running our software alongside Skype for Business and climbing rapidly. It's a very fast-growing market segment for us and for the industry in general. We have been working with Microsoft, as you guys are undoubtedly aware. They don't have an attendant console. They don't have a contact center. They don't have their own recording solution, and they don't really report on contact center metrics and attendant console metrics. So we do that on their behalf. We fill those white spaces in the market that align with what Microsoft needs to make the Skype for Business PBX successful. And we do that by using Microsoft-endorsed integration methods and so on. So, this is again built on the TouchPoint framework, what we've been talking about today, which is the same framework that we use to develop our contact center applications and, frankly, our recording solutions. Our recording solution has a new user interface coming out next month. It's called Quality Management Suite User Interface. It is based on TouchPoint as well. So we're now really focusing on a common theme for look and feel of the products and how well they work together synergistically. So there at the bottom of the screen is an email address that you guys can use if you're interested in pursuing any further discussions. We can set up meetings with you to discuss where we go from here, or answer specific questions you might have. Feel free to send any queries to americas.sales.str@edgehouse.com, or you can obviously contact your field sales rep at Edgehouse to set up more discussions. And with that, I think that is all we had. So again, if you have any other questions, please, that you'd like to address right now, please feel free to type them into the chat window, and we can address them at this time. Jessica, any questions come in?
Hi, John. Yes, we have one person that's writing in right now, and they're asking if we can send the presentation.
Of course. Yeah. I forgot to mention that we'll also put a recorded copy of the webinar somewhere. Jess, right? We're going to put that on some site somewhere, or email it to them?
Yes, so it'll be available in the partner portal, and you'll also receive an email that has a copy of the presentation there.
Right. So we will definitely do that.
Okay, and another question, what is the support that is offered with the purchase of the product?
I'm sorry, Jess, can you repeat the question?
Sure. So what is the support that is offered with the purchase of the product?
It's the same support as we have now set up with our partners, so it uses the same support model that we have. A customer who deploys the product can, depending on the agreement we have with our partner, access Tier 1 or Tier 2 support from the partner, or call directly into our support desk for support. We haven't changed the support model at this point. We do have people manning, as we roll this out, we have physical people manning inside sales desks to help people with any questions they might have about obtaining, pricing, installing, and so on. So we have live people set up for that as well. So people who have questions when they're going to our website and running into issues, there shouldn't be any issues because it is so dead easy to do. But if there are, we have live people to help, and our partners, of course, can use those people as well. I don't know, Sandra, anything else to add on our support model?
No, I don't think so. If somebody does want to get a little bit further deeper, again, give us a call if there are any specific questions that you're wondering what's covered. But no, I think you covered it all.
It's a good question because I think if we develop a very high volume with the product, and it ends up, being like 2 installed at this customer and 1 installed at that customer, across hundreds of thousands of customers, then we may have to create a little more streamlined approach to support, but for now, it's status quo. For now, it's just the standard model.
Yep.
Okay, great. Let's see here. We've got, when is it available? It's
available today. You can go onto the website, download it, and start using it. And I think, so for our partners, I believe we have options to create a more perpetual license, so you don't have a trial that's expiring in 30 days kind of thing. And Sandra, we can help them with that, right, to do that?
Yes, definitely we can help them. And like I said, I am encouraging all the partners to go do this because, I'll be honest, until I did it myself, and I work here, but you can see it, you can hear about it, you can understand it, until you actually get your hands on it and you see how quick and how simple it is to download it, and it, like you said before, it just starts working. It just starts working. And like, again, those groups that you saw up there, it uses the same groups that you already have set up in Skype for Business. So, for example, there was someone internally here, one of our reps actually, I just happened to be watching them install it, and I said, wait, where are your groups? She just happened to not have any groups set up in Skype for Business. But that's the kind of stuff, until you actually get your hands on it, you won't quite get that customer experience, but I think that's important when you're sharing it with your customer and telling them how easy it is. Once you've gone through it, it makes a lot more sense. But yes, everybody, you guys get your own. Send us an email. For you partners, we'll give you a longer key code. You know, the subscription will do a whole year at a time. It expires next year. You know, call us up and we'll renew it.
Right, and some of you who work with Microsoft, you know, on and are looking at the Cloud PBX as a solution to offer to customers, you know, may be aware that the Skype for Business Cloud PBX is continuing to evolve its functionality. So the key is that the way we've built this is it will inherit the functionality of Skype for Business as it evolves. So, for example, today there's no auto attendant or call queues in the Cloud PBX available, but they will be available soon from Microsoft. And as those get introduced, those will automatically work with this attendant console.
Okay, great. And it looks like we've got a follow-up question from the first support question, and we might need a little bit of clarification here, but someone's wondering, to request a license every 30 days would be a hindrance to me pitching the product.
No, the trial is 30 days, but the license is 12 months. So when you actually acquire a license and purchase it on a subscription basis, it is a 12-month license. So, and then you'll get a notification well in advance that your license is due to expire and it's time to re-up that license. Hopefully that was clear.
Yeah, and I think Ben is asking us, so to request a license, that's what we were saying before. So if you get a license for you to demo it, we'll give you a longer key code. So the 30-day trial is designed for the customers to play around with it, fall in love with it, can't live without it. But for you, we want you demoing it. So no, you're not going to have to come to us every 30 days. We'll give you a permanent code on that.
Okay, we've got another one coming in here. Can they add a perpetual license, or does it have to be a subscription?
Well, at this point, subscription is really the only option that we have available. The product's licensing was built to handle subscription. So it's something that, as partners, we'd love to talk over with you. If you think the perpetual model is a model that helps you go to market, it would be, we would need to have a discussion about that. It's not a hugely difficult thing to put into the product, but today the product does not support that.
Yep, that was a good question.
Okay, great. And let's see. Assume subscription covers all updates and versioning.
It does, and you know, if those of you who may have been working with the server versions of our software, the contact center or console that runs off the Edgehouse Communications Center servers, are probably aware that our TouchPoint interface for both agents and supervisors and operators automatically updates from our servers. This doesn't connect to any Edgehouse server. So in this case, there's no auto update built in, but we're working out both a website approach and potentially an email notification approach to notify you of an available update and allow you to download it. So we're actually working on that. We didn't want to delay the launch because we don't have any updates yet for this, but we will be working on an approach to allow you to get that update.
Okay, great questions coming in here, and it looks like we just have one more, and that is a question about on-premise versus cloud.
Okay, so I assume the question is, what's the difference? Is there a difference in functionality between the attendant that connects to an on-premise Skype for Business configuration versus the attendant connecting to a Cloud PBX configuration? It's a good question. There are minor differences there. An example would be when calls come in on that left-hand side, which we saw in the demo where they were kind of stacking up on the left side and changing color. We saw the caller ID information in there. That caller ID information comes from Skype for Business. But the Cloud PBX doesn't yet provide that for calls in queue. It only provides that information when you take the call. You guys might be familiar with that when you actually take a call in the Skype client. So that information is not provided when they're stacking up, only when you take them. And so what we replace it with for the cloud version is the queue they're coming in to. So, we're working with Microsoft on the early versions of call queues in the cloud, and we're able to display the name of that queue for the calls coming in. Then when you take the call, we then have the caller ID information, and we can look it up in the phone book and so on. So it's a slight difference. The look and feel and user experience is the same. It doesn't really change, but you'll see these minor little display data and functional differences here and there between what the Cloud PBX can do and what the on-premise PBX can do. So it's minor. But one of the nice things is, because it's built to be the same user experience, if a customer changes, starts out, say, using a hosted or on-premise version of Skype and then changes to the Cloud PBX, for example, they won't have to relearn the application. It works the same.
All right, John, well, that looks like all the questions that we have coming through today.
Great, thanks, John. So thanks, everybody. We really appreciate your time today and spending some time with us. Hopefully you're excited about this as we are. We think this is a really neat application. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback in early trials and showing it to various people. We think it's going to be a good seller. Microsoft themselves estimates that over 50% of their Skype opportunities require some kind of console. So we think this thing's going to really move in the market, and we think it's a really good fit. We look forward to working with you guys to make this a success. So thanks very much.